be on now.
Okay.
Haley, do you want to open us up in prayer today?
Father, I thank you for these sisters. I thank you that we can come together to encourage one another. I pray, Lord, that you would move here. I pray that we would not be distracted in how we live our life by other things, but that we would live with you, Lord, in everything. And I thank you for the encouragement that each one is to another here. I pray, Lord, that we would continue to learn how to be good sisters to one another in a heavenly way, and to build up each other's spirits and not simply our flesh. Amen.
Amen.
Well, I actually am not fully caught up with the recordings of the last few, so I'm definitely willing to hear from you guys, and if you guys have anything to share from those, we can definitely go over that, but I'm not updated with those quite yet, so I still want to listen to them, but other than that, just how have you guys been doing? What's been on your hearts and minds with anything, really? What's the Lord doing?
I feel like the poem thing we did yesterday was super fun, but other than that, the thing I ended up writing was kind of already within myself. I've been thinking a lot about purity and kind of standards, I guess. And it is really hard, just with my dad and our family being kind of divided. It feels like I don't know where to draw the line, if that makes sense. Of course I want to spend time and be with everyone, but I don't want to necessarily allow everything in. And so I have been feeling like I've been lost in this gray area. I don't know. But yeah, it is really interesting just to think about truth and how all truth is God's truth, whether or not it's mixed in with something of the world or deception or anything. But I don't know if I have anything else to say on that, but it's just been something in me.
So when you say you're in that gray area, are you talking about your thought on truth, or of truth, or when you even say what you allow in your life?
It's just if I read a book, okay, or if I watch something, you need to be careful and be discerning and to not let certain things infiltrate, I guess.
Yeah, influence you.
Yeah. I wrote a thing actually a while ago when your dad assigned the prayer psalm things. It was overflow, and I titled it "I Wish to Be Pure," and that's kind of expressing my heart as well. I forgot I had written that actually. But I don't know. I just have been thinking about it a lot, and it keeps coming up over and over again these past few weeks. So
I think it's a very beautiful place to be, and trying to understand fully what purity is, and you're saying, what to let in and not to let in.
Yeah.
Because we all want to desire to be pure in the Lord's sight, and I think kind of what you're saying too about the mixture of truth and wanting it to be fully God's truth, and it can definitely be confusing because of where the world's at. Yeah. But that's again another just more evidence of why we should be closer to the Lord and truly desire that relationship with Him.
Yeah.
and, fall under that truth to get closer to Him.
Also with sin,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm not pure, especially if I do the same sin over and over again. Sometimes even I know that I'm sinning and I do it anyway, and that makes it feel even worse afterward. It feels like it's impossible for me to be pure if I just keep doing this thing over and over again. Like, there's this wonder, like, how could He ever forgive us? I don't know. It's just beautiful, and it's a mystery.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about that too, like falling under the same thing over and over again, and like I really do think that's just such a beautiful opportunity too to continue to learn from it and respond to it differently, because we can choose not to. We can choose to just keep doing it or keep allowing it to keep happening, I guess. And I think too, there's certain situations like that will come up for me on how I can respond to a situation. And that's actually one thing I want to discuss today. Let me see what I wrote down. I had a couple like questions for us to discuss, but well, it's similar. But I keep finding myself in these opportunities to be like, should I have responded in that way? How can I do this differently next time?
Yeah.
Because like I think it can happen. It can happen in so many different areas of your life, relationship, or well, it isn't a lot relationship, but like it kind of feels like you're going in circles, and you're like, why does this keep happening? And this can be in so many different areas in your life, so many different relationships, but just really choosing to learn from it and know and try to understand what the Lord is doing or teaching you through it, because hardship or not, I think that we learn from the stuff that comes back like that. I'm trying to even think of an example. Like I had talked about it a little bit ago about like with cleaning at our place. Like I always found it like such a good opportunity to like anything that comes up, just like, how am I going to respond to this kind of thing?
Because you have a habit of falling into the wrong mindset.
Exactly. And like almost, I'm not joking, you guys, almost every single time I do anything involving the cabins at our property, something just really annoying comes up. And I'm like, it makes me get pretty upset sometimes, but I like catch myself sometimes like, how am I going to choose to respond with this? And I just think that's a cool place to be too, because instead of just letting it continue to like happen in the same way of like responding in a negative way, instead you're like, oh, how can I respond differently to this? How can I actually learn to be a different person?
Yeah, kind of stepping outside of the cycle of your mindset.
Exactly.
And being able to try to change that up.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Do y'all feel like you struggle with that a lot?
Definitely.
Like, kind of, do you ever catch yourself just like being like, oh, wait, I've responded bad before. I wonder how I can do this differently. Like, have you ever caught yourself doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that it's a little bit more of a positive thing, but with my horseback riding, I used to get frustrated with it whenever it wouldn't go well, per se, but now I kind of have made this habit of just being prayerful about when I'm tacking up the horse, when I'm walking around the arena before I get on. Just like, so I can set up my heart for the ride because I love it, and the Lord will even speak to me through it sometimes. But I have to have the right heart in it. So I don't want to fall under that same frustration and discouragement that I have before, because we're all learning in different areas, but like with anything, when you're learning, there are certain points where you're going to feel like you're doing worse than you were before, but that's just a step in the process.
Right. I think we are too hard on ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, and
I'm
I'm like that a lot. I'm really hard on myself. So like just being with the Lord in that is something that I'm grateful that I have made a habit of when I ride specifically, but I don't want it to be just that. I want to grow in that in other areas as well.
That's beautiful, Haley.
I think it comes with in the places you're most familiar with. Because I even think, to agree, I feel I'm very hard on myself in a familiar way to the point, like, if I don't know something, I'm immediately upset. And it's negativity, I feel like, is something I fall really easily into. And not even if something doesn't go my way, but that's just something I find myself being too familiar with. And that's something I definitely fall into. And sometimes I'm like,
Like you're saying, like you fall into kind of like this negative mindset.
Yeah, and I'm like, sometimes I'll just say something negative and I'll be like, why did I say that? It's not even true. Or like, I don't even know. It didn't need to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, too, I think we all struggle with that negative, or at least I do. Like, it's interesting how we get something set in our head, and it just becomes, like Haley's saying, like that circle that you just keep going around and around in and being like, it's just going to be the same. But we can choose differently. Like, we can choose to change the way we think. Like, I think that's really important in so many different things in our life. Like, how we think about each other and how we think about our own life. Like,
Yeah, something that it was one of Justin's classes, and he was helping us practice mindfulness and what it looks like. It was he used a silly example, but like it really struck me and inspired me to want to become a mindful person, which is how you can change those habits and cycles of mindsets, is to be aware of your thoughts. Which,
yeah, we were talking about something yesterday morning in our analytics time about like slowing down. Is that in our analytics time? Slowing down your thoughts and just like taking it slower. Do y'all remember that? My dad talking about that? Not really.
Maybe not. I don't remember.
But like he was just talking about like just slowing down and actually thinking about a situation. When did we talk about that? I feel like it was really recent, but
I don't think it was last or yesterday. I do remember him talking something about that, I think, though.
anyways, it just kind of reminded me of just kind of taking time to like think about your actions instead of just doing what you usually do or fall into.
Something else that, I don't know if you've done this before, Hannah, but it's kind of a practice I've been trying to get into more. When you notice yourself going through making these same mistakes over and over again, for me, I tend to really just keep it to myself, and like it's just always on my mind, or like I keep messing up with this. Something that I've noticed is when I talk to somebody else, or when I tell somebody else that this is something I'm struggling with, even like they don't have to have some kind of advice for me, but they can like, knowing that they know, it is helpful, because it's like, I don't know if this is the right word, but like they can almost be accountable for you. And I don't know, that's just been something that's helpful for me to break out of habits, is just having somebody else there who knows that you're going through that too. But
Yep, that's a really good point, because I think it's been shared on Wednesday many times, like what's going on in our life, and sharing that with other people can actually benefit other people too. Like I think that's one thing we're all learning, and like Esther's saying she's learning, like we're all having to learn how to like kind of get out of ourselves and really like have a relationship with other people, and coming to other people with, you know, certain burdens that we have, and not just keeping it to ourselves, because we can't do everything on our own. And that's why God made relationships for us, is for us to like see Him through other people. And yeah, that's a beautiful point, Esther.
Something that's been on my mind recently, which is off topic now, but I don't remember when it was, like 2 weeks ago maybe. I'm trying to think about what to say and what to not say. I reached out to Jaden just because, like, I remember him being in a place of, like, he didn't hear from God, obviously, and now, I don't know if he has, but he's different now, obviously, so I was just asking him, like, I was just trying to find peace and happiness in my life, and we talk about, like, expectations, and I didn't really think I had expectations for God, or, like, how he came, but as I was talking to Jaden, I realized that I did, because I was expecting to hear from him in like the ways that I see other people, because like people get words, visions, and I was expecting that, but something Jaden had said was like that if you're focusing too much on trying to hear from God in a certain way, you might miss the bigger picture or the bigger lesson that he's been trying to show you. And so were we talking about happiness yesterday in class? Yeah. Well, I was
an eternal happiness.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking like, because happiness has been something I always tried to pursue because I never really, it sounds silly to say, I never really got it. Like, it's just not something that I've had. And I was looking at it and still do, it's a habit, is like looking at it from a circumstantial, like, you know what I mean? Like, if this happens, I'll be happy.
You're looking for a certain circumstance. Or
yes, like
That
it's
will make you
worldly, yes. And none of that came, and I don't think it will, is the thing. Like, but I've been trying to find happiness just in God, in living. Like, I'm definitely doing better now, which it's interesting because right when I started to switch my mindset from if this happens, I'll be happy to I'm just happy being alive. And it's not even happiness, like, because I wouldn't say that I'm like this really happy, joyful person because I'm not really.
Maybe contentment?
Yes, like just peace, just being content with where I am in life.
I think that's where we miss it, is when we're unhappy, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around what it means to be, like,
I think
happy, but, like, I think what we miss is, or when we miss, is we're trying to find something we don't have.
Yeah.
We're trying to, like, have a life that we're not given.
Mm-hmm.
We're, like, but what do we have? What does the Lord have for us right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I really struggle with thinking about how I want my future.
Mm-hmm.
And that always got me to a place of expectation that was lost because I expected something that didn't happen. Of course, you're going to be sad about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really just living in the moment and not planning out your own life.
Yeah.
And we're all learning that for sure. But yeah, I really want to stop missing that opportunity to just be now rather than like you're saying, just be like, I can't wait till this happens. And my dad says this all the time. Like, I've noticed him saying actually a lot recently is like when this happens, I'll be happy. Or when this, just be, what does the Lord have for us right now? Like, anyways, yeah, it's a beautiful point, Hattie. Sorry, what were you going to say, Emma?
Oh, it's not important. I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Well, Hattie, like, there are, like, 2 or 3 things that you said that were kind of personal to my life because the expectations thing, for me, I've noticed that is time. When I'm asking the Lord to speak to me, I'm expecting him to answer in that moment. But a lot of times it will come after, the day after, the week after, and probably even longer than that as well. But another thing, when you said to be happy just with the Lord, like that would be your happiness. Like, I think one of my mom's favorite Bible verses is delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And I think that is kind of what Mom likes to say, that he is the desire of your heart when you delight yourself in him. And from my perspective, from personal experience, when you delight yourself in him, the other things, you have a perspective of their earthliness. So you don't feel so attached to them. And that's why he gives them to you. Because I've had things like that. Horseback riding is one of them. That I never thought I was going to be able to do it. And I really wanted to. But I gave it to the Lord. And that's why he's giving it to me. So.
Seek first his kingdom, and then all else will be added. Is what I think of.
Yep.
And I think, too, if you, like, I might be repeating what I already said. If you find peace in without circumstance, then it doesn't really matter what happens. Because, like, you guys know, like, there's some people, like, Isaac, I'll use as an example, is, like, it doesn't matter what circumstance he is in, he's always, I don't want to say happy because not everybody's always happy, but he always looks for the positive and is just at peace. And that's the kind of, because I don't really want this bundle of joy, happiness just chasing me around. I don't, that sounds silly, but I don't. It's just contentment.
It's like an unrealistic expectation of happiness.
Yeah. And I don't think happiness means what we think it means. So that's why I don't even think I need it. Like,
Yeah, it's like calling things for the wrong names.
yes, exactly.
It makes me think of, oh, sorry.
It's fine.
I keep talking over you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think the word happiness has been used in the wrong way
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of places in the world. We assume that happiness is just like you said, like lollipops and whatever, rainbows and stuff. But it's really not. It's how we it's how we choose to see everything.
Yeah.
We can choose to not be happy about something,
Mm-hmm.
and we can choose to have content in the worries and the
Mhm.
problems of our lives. But it's really how we look at it, and like you said, we can't have unrealistic expectations for happiness that is not going to be met.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Tim talking about happiness? What was he saying? He was talking about, like, our idea, and then we brought up, like, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what? I can't think of, like,
In
exactly.
Analects or in?
In
In
Analects.
Analects, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he said either, but I was like excited when he said that because I knew that was because I had picked that subject for
Oh, really?
Justin's class. I was like, oh, no way he's talking about that right now.
For the solitude?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. I picked something on joy. I did
Oh,
mine on
interesting.
joy because that was one of the words that I felt like my whole life has been. I didn't like that word, if that makes sense, because it seemed to come with. It felt like happiness to me, where you use it in a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But recently, that word has come up so much in my life, and my dad was even, like, mentioning it yesterday, or it came up a few times. But I was doing research for a book I was writing, and a character named Sorrow, and I looked up what the opposite of that was, and it was joy. And it just seems like a bunch of little different, I don't know, joy has just been a word that has brought up very many circumstances, if that makes sense. I've heard joy bring, like, blessing, but also just joy itself has brought, like, unfortunate things into my life, which isn't, and I say unfortunate, but I only think it's unfortunate to myself, like my soul.
So
I'm sorry, this it's kind of confusing.
Just explain that a little bit. Like, how is it unfortunate?
It's hard to explain.
Is it because
Just-
of what fruited out from it, or?
Yeah, just the way the word has been used
Hmm.
in certain ways in my life have been both brought beauty and then both brought an unfortunate circumstance in my life.
So,
But
like,
it wasn't even
maybe an unmet expectation. Is that what you're saying?
It's hard. I don't want to. It's just a part where it's something in my life that I don't want to overshare with because I
Yeah.
don't think it's the right timing for it.
Okay.
But it is. I would say it's kind of like an expectation.
Hmm.
I would say an expectation of joy was set, and it just took a different turn. Sorry, I don't really know how to explain
No,
it.
that's okay.
And it's not that I don't want to share. I just don't think it's the right time.
Okay. Yeah. I was kind of thinking, kind of combining a lot of what we were just talking about with joy and happiness and what Emma said about it being something that we can choose. Like, it is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I feel like if we choose it, in any circumstance. Like, I'm not saying, like, every moment of our life is gonna feel good.
Yeah.
And
I know
it
what you mean.
shouldn't.
Mhm.
But, like, it's like choosing to have a certain, obviously, response, but, like, attitude.
Yeah. It's
Sort
like
of
putting on
something.
glasses
Yeah.
to see something a little differently.
But, like, again, that's why it's hard for me to say happiness, because happiness just seems like this big old smile on your face and just whatever. But, like,
That's
just
why I like
choosing,
contentment. 'Cause
Yeah.
Or peace.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just choosing that
Yeah.
in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inner work. I feel
For
like
sure.
That's what happiness is.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that comes within. I feel like love is another one of those words too. How it's something that we overuse,
Mm-hmm.
but it means something so different than what we assume it is.
In the Psalms, I think it says, "The joy of the Lord is my strength."
Mhm.
So that kind of joy of the Lord puts more of a context of what that joy is. And I like that being your strength, because that kind of gives you the push for the hard circumstances, because that joy of the Lord is your strength.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to, like, as you were saying, was like find my joy or happiness or or whatever you want to call it. It sounds very vague, but like only in the Lord. Because for me, whenever I've been, not whenever, but most of the time when I've been happy, I like almost set aside God for my life, and like subconsciously, because I'm happy and I feel fulfilled. And it's just the wrong way. And so I always get this feeling whenever I'm happy or peaceful where I'm guilty because I feel like I'm setting God aside. And so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but...
You know, I think that you can only find true happiness in Him.
Mhm.
So the fact that you're seeing that is really beautiful.
Yeah, seeing the difference from kind of that eternal
Yep.
happiness and
Temporal happiness.
temporal.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But you can also, like, take joy in the things he's given. Like, for example, Millie, Penny was super important to my mom. And I don't even have all that many memories of her, but Mom prayed for guidance and if we should get a dog for 7 years. And it was really hard for our family. Went through a lot of different things with the cafe, and a lot of things were changing. And she could have just chosen to buy whatever dog she wanted, right? And it might seem like a smaller example, but the Lord really made all the choices and the decisions, and that's exactly what Mom was praying for, and that's how we knew, like, everything led down, and then suddenly we had a dog Mom was going to go fly to get, and we were like, how did this happen? And then we take joy in her every day, because she is a gift from God. And it's just things like that where He will give you the desires of your heart when you give it to Him. Because even the smallest things He cares about, you know, He counts all your hairs on your head, even though they fall out and they grow in, and He already knows. He knows all the little details. I just think it's so beautiful. He cares about us in that way.
And if we take a moment to just step back and look at Him in everything, then we can really find real happiness, right? Because we start to see that He is in everything.
It's like that thing Kayla sent in the ladies thing that said, leave, was it you said that? Or it said,
so.
leave, if you leave everything in God's hands, you'll start to see God's hands in everything.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Those are pretty.
I think, too, what's really important when it comes to our desires, especially when it's anything fleshly or temporal, you have to really just give, like you're saying, give your desires to God, because we can't expect anything. We don't want to, like you're saying, get things on our own. We want the Lord to bring them. But I've just been, that's kind of related to happiness. I've just been really thinking about even my desires, even if they seem good, relationship or even just things that I want. Like, really just, again, giving them to the Lord, because what if it's not what the Lord wants for my life? Like, what if it's something I want? And even if I give it to God, per se, is it still something I'm still going to try to pursue in my own way?
Yeah.
Like, I think really part of giving it to God is actually letting go of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, even using those words to imagine it physically, giving him something would
is
be
letting it go.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it goes back to that expectation thing. We can't have expectations for our life, because if they're not met, we're gonna be hurt. It's like, it's, you know. So again, I want to repeat that, because even for my own self, like, really giving something to the Lord is letting it go. We have to let go of our own desires. And yeah.
I feel like that's how I feel with like things like marriage, because it's something I never thought about much until these last couple years, but I always had like a fear that I was gonna be alone the rest of my life. I mean, and it's still very much something that goes through my head, but it's not a fear anymore. And I don't want this to sound all pitiful and I hope you guys see my heart in this, but I feel like I would be okay if I was alone. Like, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I was thinking about that exact thing this morning. Like, because we're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, we're not gonna be alone. We have many people who love us, and the Lord will always be in our heart. So it's really,
and it's even,
it shouldn't be looked at as something sad.
yeah,
Even
like,
though
even if
my desire.
I end up, and I'm not saying I am gonna, because I don't know what's gonna happen, but I feel like even if I do end up without a spouse or people around me, I can be content and peaceful with that.
I think too, that goes putting that in the context of how we see each other, because we're not going to be flesh forever. We're not going to stay. You're not married in heaven, and so it's like it's again really wanting to see each other as who we really are, as sons, brothers and sisters, and I think that's part of that. Sorry, contentment.
I think that's what your dad was kind of touching on, where we start to see everybody in that son position, and we, you know.
Yeah.
What else did he say?
I like the other little circle thing there. Yeah, it's a good picture of kind of like not living on that fleshly level and seeing people on that fleshly level.
Two interesting things about that is that sometimes he would make it seem like it was the other person that would choose that, which circle they were in, or ring, and then in some contexts it seemed like that we were the one who would choose that. I don't know if it's a combination or if it's just like, I don't fully understand it, because like, let's say you have a coworker and they want to be your friend. You can choose to have them your friend, sure, but like, if they're not in the context of a son, but you see them in that way, where does that actually place them?
Well, good.
Sorry. If you have a friend and you want them to be a son with you, but you just actually can't relate to them in that way because they're not open to it, then they can't be a son. Because if you actually can't relate to them as a son, then they're going to stay in the friend or family category.
But could you still see them as a son in that way?
What if they have like no conception of God though? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. I don't know for sure.
I mean, I think we can see the Lord's beauty in every person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if that does place them in that. That is seeing the Lord in them, but I don't know if that is seeing their sonship.
I think what my dad meant by someone being a son was you being in a relationship with them as a son. Like, you're a son and your relationship with them as a son.
Yeah, because it's all relational.
Yeah.
Well, we read that scripture too, that when Jesus was saying, "Those who do the work of my Father are my mother and brothers." So I think that's what he was talking about. But I do see what you're talking about, Emma, because I feel like I've been told, like, when we treat each other with a disrespect, we're treating God's children that way, and it makes it like kind of worse to think about when you think about it that way. But yeah, I've heard that when you treat like other people, like, it doesn't matter who it was, you're treating God's son. Because yeah, but I think what he was talking about was that relationship.
It's like
from
a
that scripture.
mutual
Yeah.
thing.
Or like a
Has to be
fellow,
mutual, right.
like
Respect.
you're in line with
Yeah,
them. I don't know.
There's something else. I was talking to Nicole about this circle thing earlier today. Maybe everyone else thought of it this way, but for some reason I was thinking, like, as the person being the son, and like other people can come into that. But what she kind of brought out was, like, you can be a son, but if you choose to be in relationship with another person, they can bring you out of that. And I don't know why I didn't think of it in that way
You
originally.
are who your friends are, is what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you-
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because you don't only have to, like, consider who is in your ring, but which ring you are in theirs. You know?
Exactly.
Like, am I only a friend? Am I only an acquaintance? Or am I deeper than that, more intimate?
That's a good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool perspective. Kind of thinking outside of your own, even.
And that shows our nature of, like, how we think so individually in our own person.
Yeah.
I guess recently I've just been seeing that in myself more and more about, like, my own perspective. I'm so self-centered, just, like, still in my little box.
I've been thinking about that in the context of, like, relationship and being influenced. I think we were talking about that in the car. Well, I'm a very easily influenced person. That can be used for good or for bad, but I've noticed when I hang out with someone, I almost shift my entire demeanor to match theirs. It's just my second nature. It's not anything I'm purposefully doing, and that's why some people can have outside friends, as I call them, like, but I feel like I'm not one of those people that can have an intimate or close relationship with someone outside of here because of how easily influenced I am. Like, I just noticed, like, when I had some other friends outside of here, I became them almost, and the second I left, it all switched. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I think we definitely, and a lot of us, the stage that we're in right now, is that we're in a very easily influenced state, and that's okay. Like, it starts off with that we have to be careful what we're influenced by, obviously, but eventually we want to get to a place where we are the influence. Like, you can go around those people and you can be the good influence. So I don't know, that's
And I think that might start just by being aware of the Lord when you're with those people who have their own influence that they're bringing.
I think what. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I feel the same as you, Hattie.
I think what Esther's even saying too is, like, carrying a standard. Because there's been stories about Dad, and how certain people have treated him. Just because they all changed around him because of just the standard he carried. He didn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Atmosphere.
Yep. That is a cool concept to think about, like the atmosphere that you bring.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to do some thinking about, like, how you're carrying yourself, because you can carry in something without saying a word.
My mom was talking about that in her, do you remember her teacher thing?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
She was talking about how, I won't tell the entire story because it's long, but when she would teach, she wasn't really allowed to say any religious preferences because that's against the law. Silly enough. But it was just the atmosphere that she carried changed the lives of the children she was teaching. Like, she didn't have to say a word. It was just her being her. And yeah, I try to do that when I'm with other people outside of here, but it requires a will, and I
Yeah.
don't like to have a will with around other people.
It
But
can be real hard sometimes.
yeah,
There's just a lot of
because you
fighting
feel
that
like
goes inside
you
of my
feel
head,
like
yeah.
the weird one when you're over here just like.
yeah.
It's true.
You think of that when we're talking about like easily influenced. I think of an experience that I had a few months back when I was in that play. I didn't do anything out of like the ordinary for me. Like I wasn't overly nice or polite or anything. I was just being myself. And a lot of the younger kids were drawn to me and wanted to be around me. And it wasn't me. It was definitely the Lord working through me. But you think of like kids who are easily influenced like that, and you think of how certain atmospheres or cultures that people bring. I don't know, it's crazy to think that the Lord's culture could be a blessing to anyone. Like he obviously used me in that way to be a blessing to the younger children. It just brought me so much joy. Funny using that word again. But it was just so content that he could speak to someone that I didn't have to say anything and that his presence was present.
Who said something about how you set the atmosphere? Who said that?
And what?
When?
Like a while ago.
I just said the
Well-
word atmosphere. I didn't say
well,
anything
yeah.
about it.
Same thing, but it's just interesting how our mood can affect everyone.
Yeah.
Like, how we carry ourselves can affect the
Yeah,
whole
Tim
place.
talked about that.
That's
in
right,
his
that's
And you're
ministry.
talking about that in kind of like how if you hold back or if you do something that
Oh,
affects
yeah.
everybody.
That's right.
In the
Yeah, Kayla, to what you're talking about, I've seen something similar with like the place that I babysit, and not really being, mostly just observing how the older one, he's like 4 or 5, so much reflects the culture that he's around. And it almost makes me sad because like I'm a new babysitter, so I have a hard time feeling like the right context because they're not my kids, but I'm taking care of them and stuff. So like it almost makes me sad to see his mindsets already, but like I almost feel like I want to help him with that, but then I'm like, wait, this is not my kid, and like my kids will be in a safe environment, like around our group, and not like open to all the world stuff, because their parents are precious, but they just don't know any better. And I've heard him mention other friends that they have that will come over that are like a little older than me, but yeah, so.
What Hattie was saying in her story, I think, or about Kim, that you were just saying, kind of relates to that, because Kim was saying that she, what was
She
the
used to
school?
work with
It was emotionally disturbed children.
Yeah, but she decided after something, she had those kids, invited them to come over to her house
That's right.
and just hang out with her. She wasn't like teaching them or anything, just like playing. And that's when they changed. Like they even
Because they were in her environment.
they even like focused better during
on
the
studying. Right?
yeah and everything. And then but then she said that even the parents came to her asking like what she was doing differently or like what she was doing to make them.
Who is this? Kim?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
That's
beautiful.
interesting.
It's actually interesting because you guys know Amanda's kid. Well, you guys, but
Yeah.
I hang out with her sometimes, and it's because I haven't seen like a dramatic shift in her, which I'm not expecting to because I don't see her a lot. But it's just interesting. The first time that we hung out, she's a very strong-willed and brave person, in which, she'll say some very, I don't want to go, whatever. But I just noticed that when I carried the standard of, not in a mean way, but no, we're not going to do that. That's not what I do. That's not what we do here. She just like shifted. And now when she's with me, she's not fake, but she knows the standard, which, yeah, that's what you're saying.
That's a good thing.
kind of had to question if we want to discuss it, but I know we're all girls, and we can struggle with emotional and emotion stuff. I was kind of wondering, I just want to hear from you guys and like how you guys usually control your emotions in hard times or, you know, just in any situation when emotions can kind of, you know, get in the way. Like how do you guys usually go about, like, do you? I mean, maybe you don't yet, but how do you usually control those?
This might sound stupid, but I love music so much and I listen to it all the time, but it really calms whatever's like stirring in my heart in the wrong way. And I think that just putting music on and just not thinking about anything can really just make me think about the right things and how my emotions should not affect me and how I get emotionally attached to people and things on this earth that don't last. So just taking a step back and looking at where you are has helped me.
Yeah, also listening to the right music
Yep.
too. You to be careful. But yeah, sometimes if things get really heated, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I'll just like shut and I'll just be quiet, and then I'll wait till it's like a night or something, and then I'll like punch something or like cry for an hour. I don't know. No, like a pillow.
I would hope so. Not someone. Poor Haley. Just kidding. Hannah,
Wait
please
till
don't
the time
punch
is right.
Haley.
I don't know. It's fine. But like
Back to breast
without
tufts.
like making a conscious choice.
I think that's actually really
just what I'll
cool
do.
that you can kind of keep it in a way, which that
I don't know if that's
can be
healthy, though, is what
negative
I'm saying.
if you're just keeping it in, but I mean like not letting it control you.
I think
Like I'm
even in
saying,
the best
like-
way is kind of like restraining your soul.
Right.
Like,
And you're
It's-
not letting it affect others.
Right, you're not like
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
just imagine just like
But-
being mad and just punching someone on accident because like what you're saying
Not
instead of like
someone. Okay.
I know I'm just saying like in that moment of anger you're not letting it like make you respond bad. I think that's in ways kind of cool that you're able to. I know that. I was just giving a.
What if someone says something that really upsets me though, and then what if I go really quiet, and then I like walk very deliberately down the hallway? I'm still carrying an atmosphere of like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of tense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
then like
thinking
I
about that
walk away,
atmosphere,
and it's
too.
like everyone's like, like you're scared to touch someone. Well, you know when someone gets like that, and you're scared to like talk to them, you're afraid
Yes.
they'll like set them off, and you're like
Yeah.
walking on eggshells. I don't know.
I think too, kind of giving yourself or like giving people space
Yeah.
at that time can be better than trying to get something out of them.
I think it's good if you feel like you need to walk away, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. But I do understand what you're saying. Like it feels like I shouldn't be upset about this.
Yeah.
Or it's just
Exactly.
I know what you're feeling, and so I don't know.
I think too, it's like asking yourself, why am I upset?
Yeah.
Like, why is this making
Exactly.
me feel this way?
Yeah.
You know, instead of just like staying on that thing and being like constantly being upset about it. But
I think for me, I'm very good at masking, and that can, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm just like, I could be destroyed and acting normal until I get home and then, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I've been thinking about like, because I don't want to be a fake person, but I also don't want to just let my anger out on poor people I'm hanging out with because I'm upset. But yeah, I've just been trying to think about how to, I don't know where I was
I
going
feel
with
like
that.
I do a similar thing. We don't want it to affect others, and we don't want it to change the atmosphere to a bad place. But I think it's good to talk to people about it, and that's something I have a hard time with,
Yeah.
is coming to people about my emotions, especially.
Me too.
I think a lot of us girls struggle with that, but yeah, it's really good to have someone to talk to about it, because you can kind of have a release in your heart and mind.
I mean, obviously it depends on the situation, but I think also, like, learning to be willing to go to a person who's struggling like that. Like you were saying, it's really, like, hard to, when you see someone upset, you don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously, like I said, it depends on what is going on, but sometimes people just need to be talked to. And maybe they don't want to, but even it can help them.
Sometimes
too.
that even depends on the person.
Yeah, true.
Or maybe you can ask them, like, do you want to talk about this right now, or do you want to wait till you cool down, then
Yeah.
we can talk about it? 'Cause people are different. So.
Yeah.
I've seen, go ahead.
Nope. I'm not talking. So.
I've seen I think both sides to that, because I am a very internal person when it comes to those things. So there have been situations where I would just shut down completely and not let anything kind of come in or out. And I've seen, like I said, I've seen both sides to a benefit and non-benefit. The non-benefit being I would just keep it inside until it will build and build and build, and it was literally like a weight. Like, it's so weird. You can, like, feel it in your throat weighing down on you. And I still do this, so I'm not saying that I'm perfect in it, because it's still something I definitely struggle with. But something that has helped me is journaling. I know I say that a lot, but journaling is so extremely important to me that even when I'm upset, I like to work or even at least think about things with myself before I bring it to people. And I've really been just immediately trying to write it down in my journal or have it on something that I can write into my journal later, because at least it gets my thoughts and feelings out onto paper, and kind of like I get to work through that. And I've struggled even with, like, looking back at my journals being, oh wow, that's really silly, but it really isn't. And
That is interesting.
It is.
Think about looking back too.
Yeah.
Like how you've changed.
Yeah,
and you're
you
like,
look back and you're all, oh, that's stupid. But
That's
it
why I
really
don't
wasn't.
write.
It was real emotions at some point. But, I mean, you can also look back and be all, wow, I'm a different person. But I would really advise everybody to journal, because that's something that has been so extremely, or just writing in general.
And even the journal that you gave me and encouraged me to do that with, I have done that in that one. I have go through phases of journaling, like I'll forget for like a month, and then I'll come back to it and be like, oh, this is really helpful. So I can relate to that, but I currently am not doing that. I've heard people talking about that kind of building thing, like, of anger that you've been hiding, and I think I've had similar experiences, but I normally just, like, normally I'm not angry. Normally I just get really discouraged with my own faults. And I just get really emotional with that. So whenever, like, I finally get to be by myself, I just go cry.
You don't get there.
Yeah, but
Oh, always.
I still don't have a solution to that. But I think I used to get really disturbed with just family interactions that would be like, we're all flawed. But I'm at the point now where I can just release it to the Lord, because like, Lord, I know in this situation I can't do anything to help it or the flawed ways that people are interacting to each other, so I'm just gonna let you handle it. This was gonna happen, so I'm just gonna do my best to not interact with things that it wouldn't be helpful and stuff. So, but it used to really, really bother me, and I still don't like it, but I'm able to kind of release it to him and be like, it is well with my soul kind of thing.
Well, because if two people are, like, talking and you're looking from the outside and you can see something is going downhill, it might be worse to try to butt in and help when you might actually be hurting instead and making it worse. I feel like it takes discernment to be, if you're going to actually get going to the conversation and try to sort things out. And that could be helpful, or it could be not helpful at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to be a peacemaker, but I'm still learning. Like, I right now I'm at the point where I don't. Well, from what I can see, I don't normally egg those kind of conflicts on, but I'm not maybe I think that certain people can be a peacemaker just by their atmosphere, like we've been talking about atmospheres. But I'm still learning that. I just have to be quiet, and I don't feel like as much of an angry person as some other people might struggle with. But really, just for me, mostly just discouragement, because I still have so many flaws. And I am aware of that same pattern that you guys talk about, like that cycle of the same bad habit. And that's mostly where I go with my lowest lows, is just like discouragement and even self-pity. But normally I don't stay in those for longer than a day, thankfully. Which I used to be kind of stuck in that. So
I've been told, especially when I think when the emotions get the worst is when things have been piling for a time, kind of like you're saying. And it's like, it's really looking and searching for what is the root in this. Like, why is it overflowing now? Like, how did it build up to this? Instead of just letting it kind of just go by again. I think it's really wanting to understand, why am I getting to this place? Why am I letting this emotion take over? And I think part of that is talking to other people and kind of also writing it down. I think that's helpful to really process it out, because, you know, I might not figure it out every time, but I think once you find the root of that, you can pluck it out and start changing the way that you respond to certain things, and let emotions kind of take over. And I've been told that, and I really want to, because I can still overflow. I would say I can get very angry very fast. I look at Esther because we can struggle with each other sometimes with responses, and I will say I do respond not the greatest to Esther, but just really wanting to learn to kind of step back and find the root of something and change it. Like, I want to learn that more. I want to practice that more, because I've heard it, but I really want to just practice that. And so I'm kind of there and really searching for the roots of certain responses.
I have a question. Well, it's not like an answer, but I just want to know your guys' thoughts. So circumstantial, like if you're just like mad or upset because something happened to you, that's different. But what about when you're just down because of your life or something, like depressed or something?
Sometimes I feel sad for no reason.
Yeah, or like, but like worship nights are very hard for me because I tend to get, it sounds silly, but I'm always like feeling depressed at worship. And it's not like I can go and just talk to somebody in the middle of that, But
I mean, I think too, it's a good opportunity to, you don't maybe have to tell everybody exactly what you're depressed about, but just express, where you're at. And
well,
just
it's more
really, like,
not just worship night, that was an example, but like if I'm hanging out with one of my friends, I can't necessarily just, well, I could, but I don't want to necessarily just like go on a rampage about that.
Yeah, I think you need to. I'm not saying you in particular, because I can almost guarantee every one of us have struggled with this. But we really do need to learn to come to each other and be vulnerable with one another. And that doesn't mean spill every single thing you've ever gone through. And I mean, for some people it might be that way, but I think for all of us, we do need to learn to become more vulnerable and be honest, because I know I have personally struggled with fear of man and judgment from other people, and sometimes it has been true, but I really do need to work on that mindset, and like, these are people who love me, and if I were to be vulnerable, I won't be judged. Like, I know in this room, if I were to bring something that was heavy on my heart, I know I wouldn't be judged. But it still is a working progress. Like, I do need, that's something I definitely need to learn, how to bring my struggles to other people, because like, maybe, I don't know, Haley, if you can relate to this at all, but, like, with being an agreeable person, sometimes I feel like you are like, I'm not going to bring anything because I don't want to be a burden to somebody else. And that's something I struggle with. But, like I said before, I'm just repeating myself at this point. I do, in myself, need to learn how to come to the Lord, but come to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you go
Go
first. Nope, you have to. Well, I don't know, but what if, let's say I did have something that, like, I already brought to him, but I really needed to tell someone. How would I know who to tell? I've thought about this so many times because, like, in a setting like this would obviously be good, but, like, what if you were going to call one person? I think
You can, like, literally, I'm telling you, I mean, I'm assuming you'd want to talk to a girl, but
I think anybody.
yeah. Really, any of us,
Yeah, I know.
we want
I
to
know,
hear
which
from
one?
you.
Because then, I don't know.
Which one do you
Whoever's on your
feel-
heart.
Yeah,
The Lord will put on your heart
about
too.
also. Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
I always just think about like who's. Sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know why
That
I'm
giggle
laughing.
was cute. Okay, guys.
What? Oh, no. Sorry.
I also just think about like who maybe I don't want to say closest to because that sounds like favoritism, but like
It's not.
It's not.
there's some people who you know have been through certain things that you
Who
can
do you trust? I mean, yeah.
because I know that if like I could come to each of you about an individual problem, like that's because I know if I know you and I know what you've been through somewhat, I can come to you, you know, if I can
test
relate to
different
that.
level of intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like those rings that Tim was talking about, because there are probably even different levels within those rings. Like if you have lots of close friends, you might know them in a different way still. But
Man, I feel like we all really struggle with being a burden on someone, especially with just even y'all in your room in the room. Like, I don't think we need to feel like we're a burden. We're not. Why are we all in relationship? Why are we together? That's what we're here for, is to bring each other closer to God. Like, I mean, the Lord has brought us together for a reason.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
that's what I was gonna say earlier. Just this is a weird example, but I have a really hard time asking for help from my parents, and really anybody like Kayla. I can relate with you in that way. But you remember that moment when my neck was stuck that one day, and I was just in bed, and I really hate disturbing somebody else's sleep. Like, I cannot do that. So I was in bed just like, I'll just wait till they wake up. And then, but luckily I had my phone nearby, so it was really hard for me to call them. I don't know, it's just interesting just how we aren't really a burden to somebody, but we see it as that way. I always feel like I can never talk to anybody about my problems or anything like that because it's maybe a bother or something.
yeah, Isabella has this that kind of mindset with me, just like little things, like me filling up my water bottle for her and stuff like that. She's like, you shouldn't do it because I should do things for myself. I'm like, but I really like to help you. But because it really gives me joy. I really like helping people. So yeah, I think we should think of that way. Like, do I like helping other people when they ask me for things? If I do, then why should I not ask other people for things if we need it?
Also, it doesn't always need to be helping, per se. Like, if just to share something with someone, just to be together. It's
Just be there
different.
for them.
But that wouldn't even be helping.
I guess so.
It wouldn't even obligate anything from the other person. Just telling them or being with them would
Yeah.
be helpful to
Like,
you.
you don't even need to give, like, an answer to the problem, per se. Just
Just listen.
share it, yeah.
For me, it's really hard to open up, and that's why I don't really with my problems necessarily, but because I don't feel like my problems are important enough, because if I were to come to my mom about something, in my head I would be like, she's going through way worse. If I come to her with my problems, it's going to seem silly. And so that's why I don't normally. It just seems like my mentality is, if bringing this to them is going to put any weight on them or make it harder, then I'm not going to.
You know what? She would love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. We're
She's
meant
told
to
me
bear
many
each other's
times.
burdens too.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, you know, the things that keep us back from a relationship. Like, we really think that we're doing the right thing, but, like, we really have to have a relationship with someone. Like, what does that mean? I think
Yeah.
that was actually one of my questions. Like, well, no, but yeah.
When you were talking about like getting to the source of the emotions, it's a little bit different, but I was thinking about what I was going to write Fruits of Solitude about, and one of them was questioning and like the source of your questioning, because it can be, because it's been talked about before, but it's just something that I was thinking about, and Justin said you could share something that you've already been told, but like just something that I processed is like why, because for me it's why do I not have any questions? For a lot of people, and what my subject was going to be about, like, is why you would ask something, like, what heart is it coming out from? But, yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, because you were saying something about questions.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, the heart behind your question.
Because questions are encouraged here at the Culture Center and stuff like that. But, yeah, we know that is from the right curiosity heart, and that's goes into, I actually have like 2 different subjects that I want to write about both, so I'm probably just going to do both and then pick one to send to Justin. But the other one was like either a student of life or love of learning, because that's something that I've been talking about with someone and just thinking about it a lot. And it connects to the questions, because that love of learning would be one reason you would ask questions, and that is that right heart.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was super random and off topic.
No.
Nothing is off topic in here.
Pretty much.
Good point.
Because there's no.
That was nice of you.
Did you guys have any ideas for the assignment Noah gave us?
Not yet.
What needs to be written? Is that?
Yeah.
I don't.
I want to think about it.
I have like a big tangle in here. I don't know which piece to pull
Yeah.
out.
Big tangle in here.
Yes.
All your yarns all.
No. I wish it was yarn. That I can actually untangle physically.
I'm kind of scared because I could write forever. I think he said that didn't have to have a specific format, so I was just gonna
So
write
just
Write
write.
as
my
much as you
thoughts.
want.
But that's
I think that should be beautiful, honestly, to
Yeah.
see where everyone is just at
Mhm.
right now, and not only just at how they write it, but like just
what's going on in
It's-
their heart.
What
Or-
sparks their
yeah, just like what I'm inspired by the way Noah is choosing our writing now, just to really pull out beautiful things, what the Lord's doing in our heart. So I'm excited to see what other people write about.
It's kind of funny because I was planning on writing about what we were talking about temporary happiness. What does he say? What's
Temporal happiness, yeah.
temporal? Goodness.
It's the same thing.
So-
Yeah.
Anything else, y'all?
I just really like these times.
Me too.
I feel like it's been a long time since we met.
I know.
What did we
did like
do
a-
something?
We
Oh,
did
we
the
did the
Interstellar.
Thing.
Oh,
That
yes.
felt like a long
Oh,
time ago.
it
I said
did.
Interstellar.
Interstellar was
Oh, we
before
did
that.
before.
We didn't actually
was
meet
not a
in
week
like a
ago.
month or something.
The batch
3
cookie?
weeks.
No, that was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks, because last
we
week
did
was
we did
night.
worship night.
Oh, last week.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
Okay,
I
so
forgot we do it every other week. So
We're
it's
still
not
eating our foods.
Like I'm
We're
looking at my
still
date.
eating our food. We're
The
having our
last one
second
was, like,
lasagna.
last
today.
month. That's insane.
I think we ate all of the lasagna.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Oh, that was
It's
good.
It was good.
Yeah, it's all gone.
I didn't even know I did until I had that.
Well,
Sorry. I'm just
Kayla, do you want to wrap us up today?
Sure, I'd love to. Oh, Father, we are so extremely grateful for this time that we get to have with each other and to get to know one another's hearts. Father, I do pray against the fear of man and fear of each other that we have. Lord, that you would break the thought in our minds that says our struggles are not worthy to be heard by others, and that we are a burden to one another, because, Lord, you give us each other's burdens so we do not have to carry our burdens alone. Lord, you give us relationship so that we choose to use it. Father, I just pray that there would be a shift in our hearts towards one another, and that we would learn to come before you and even share our hurts and our emotions, Lord, because even though you know the very beat of our heart, you still long to hear from us. Lord, I thank you for your heart to be in relationship, and that you take joy in all that we take joy in. I just pray that you would teach us how to temper our soul and our ways of life that we want to keep living. Lord, I just ask for a peace in our hearts over everything that is in your hands, over our life, whether that is things from the past, things in the now, or things from the future. Lord, I just ask for a peace, and that we would learn to say it is well with our soul, and that our hearts would forever long everything you have to give. I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
That scared me.
Hey, I like your notebook.
It looks like
I'll have to
Emily.
go back and get a new one.
Wait, Emma, can I see the pattern of
Because
that?
Yes.
Is it good?
For
It's
that,
okay.
I love
It should still be recording.
I want to keep this one in my purse,
I
but
wanna
for
get,
like
like,
my
a
prayer
black
journal,
one
I
of
think
this.
I need something bigger.
That would be
Is it
pretty
still
nice.
recording right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got us talking about lasagna